Hey crafters, Leo with Dreaming Tree, and welcome to the assembly video for our timeless maple card. I've got all of my pieces cut out in front of me here, as should you. And a couple things I want to talk about. Number one is we did include a printable vellum that includes this really cool texture. It's actually from a leaf, not exactly, fit for this leaf, but it gives the just the impression of the little cells that you see that make up a leaf. And it's up to you if you want to do one or two layers. I want to do two because, number one, I wanted to keep it relatively bright, but I also wanted to make sure that we saw the detail. And I noticed that, well, two layers is better than one. So it's up to you. But what we're going to do is we're going to start off by putting. And of course, one other thing too, when you take this off your printer, you want to make sure that you have the correct side facing you, okay? Because it actually just printed on one side. The other side's a little more dull, okay? So we just want to make sure that we're doing this correctly. Now also, there are two pieces that are similar. There's this piece and this piece. The perimeter is the same, but only one piece has the little veins. What we're doing right now is taking the vellum and gluing it to kind of a skeleton piece just to keep it in place, okay? So this is gonna be, what we're gonna do here, you're gonna do either one layer of vellum and then we're gonna eventually put this on, or you're gonna do this and then one layer of vellum and then another layer of vellum and then we're gonna put this on. And then we also have some veins, okay? So it's up to you, depending on how many layers of vellum you wanna do. And this, again, you want to take your time with this, okay? It is going to be, well, just a little process that you want to really, really take your time with. And my suggestion would be to do it this way, okay? Just kind of lay it out like this. And what I'm going to do is anchor this. And you can actually put glue on the entire stem because this is all going to be covered up. And then put a little bit right here at the tip, like that, and then maybe just a little bit to the sides. Hit that with your finger to thin it out. And you know what, to protect my little pad here, I'm gonna put this piece of paper on here because I know I'm gonna be getting glue all over the place, and I kind of don't like my mat being all dirty. So get that centered up there, and then bring the stem down and get that glued into place like that. Just press and hold that in place. And just make sure that when you put the rest of this down, it is in fact lined up correctly and sitting on top of this little brown piece and not sticking out. You can double check by flipping it over and looking at it from this side here, just to make sure that's all within those boundaries, and mine is, okay? So we'll just simply go around here and just do little dots. I'm going to do 1/2 of the leaf at a time. Just tiny little dots. And if you accidentally squirt out too much glue in any little area, just dab it with your finger to thin it out. Otherwise, just press that into place. Okay? Just nice and easy. And if you're going to spread it out away from the inside. And that should hold nicely. Okay, it's going to make it a lot easier to put the top on. Let's take a look at it from this side. That looks pretty good. I might have a little section that is sticking off, but it's not the end of the world. We can always trim that with a scissor if necessary, or just not even worry about it. Okay, again, going around here to do the other side. Now, since that other side is completely anchored and glued, this will literally just fall into place. Just like that. Okay, so you can see I've got the vellum on there. And now, we're gonna just repeat the same process. And this time, we just wanna make sure that we get this lined up on top of that previous layer as accurately as we can so that everything matches up as far as all those little details go. If you're off a tad, so it's going to be okay. Don't worry too much about it. Okay, it's still going to look really cool either way. All right, so we'll do the same thing. Excuse me. Make sure that you have the printed side facing you. That's the side you want to apply the glue to. And then again, up here, I'm going to go right up to the tip of that leaf, the brown part. Never want to glue it onto the visible part of the vellum. Okay, we have no glue on these sections here. And as long as your machine did a pretty good job of doing that print and cut, you maybe don't even have to look at the actual details, but just look at the perimeter of the leaf to make sure that you have it lined up. Now let's take a look at it from this side, and that looks pretty spot on. Okay, so it looks really good. So I'm going to take this, got a little, jump the gun a little bit there. Just keep holding that down. Just make sure that you're giving it plenty of time to dry, and then just kind of peel that back, excuse me, and do the same thing. Just work that glue around the perimeter onto the brown areas. Now the cool thing about this card is, yeah, this part's going to be a little, it's going to test your patience and your dexterity. But the cool thing is that there's really not that many layers to cut. It's a relatively simple little card. Okay, so go ahead and drop that down and spread it out away from the cutouts. Okay, here we go. Let's take a look from the front. That looks great. Okay, now we'll do the other half. Just peel that away gently. And go ahead and you basically want to put the glue kind of like halfway on the cardstock and halfway on the leaf. For those of you that have worked with a spray adhesive, maybe I'd recommend that, as long as it's repositionable. I've worked with it before, and it's literally given me a headache in more ways than one. Not just figuratively, but literally physically, it gives me a headache. That's why I don't like to use it. But that's just me. You don't ever want to spray that stuff indoors, I feel like. Okay, so there's the leaf. And once you shine a light through it, it really, really pops. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to anchor this at the stem first. I'm not going to worry about the rest of it right now. I want to get the stem lined up correctly, and then I'm going to actually paint glue around the rest of this just to make sure that it all goes on as accurately as possible, because even though this is like a complete solid piece, because of how thin it is, it almost breathes. And what I mean by that is it kind of has a mind of its own, and it, like, you see what I mean? Like, it can move. And if you try to get it glued down in one fell swoop, you're probably going to end up with a huge mess. So I want to avoid that. Okay, so now that I have that, okay, next, just like we did with the vellum, I'm going to start by just putting a little bit of glue up towards the tip of the leaf here. Make sure that you don't have a big old splotch up there. And then let's get that aligned as accurately as we can, right up to the tip of the leaf, and press that down. Okay, just like that. And now we're just going to kind of work our way around using, grab yourself a scrap piece of paper and apply a little bit of glue onto it. And what we're going to do is we're going to pull one side at a time here and just dab a little bit of glue on the back of these sections here. Okay, and you might have to kind of give things a little bit of a nudge to get them to line up properly, because like I said, it's a thin piece and it breathes. It kind of can go wherever the heck it wants. It's just not, it doesn't have enough, I guess it's not holding onto this. There's not enough meat to keep it in place. Okay, so I've got this part up to here pretty much done. I'm going to reapply my glue here. And we'll do the same thing, just lift this up a little bit. And the veins we'll do later because they kind of are in their own little world as well. Okay, so very gently, just lift this up. You don't need to apply glue to every single inch of this. And it's better if you just dab this gently so you don't get a ton of glue kind of shooting out all over the place. If you do, don't worry about it. It will dry mostly clear, pardon my head if it's in the way. Pop that into place. And then you just take another scrap piece, and if you have, whoops, that kind of came apart there. If you have any excess glue, just rub it off. Okay, that looks good so far. And now, kind of work our way to the last section of each side. And I'm going to grab a fresh piece of scrap, apply my glue, peel it back right here. Just kind of hold it up and just very gently dab that glue onto these sections. Just need a tiny little bit. It's really thin, and bring it all the way down to that stem. Okay, and then if it helps, pick it up, hold it in your hand, and then just press those little sections in place. Once you get down to this section, it should just naturally fall into position. Okay, and if we have any loose areas, it's okay. We can always go back in and paint those. I'll grab another piece of scrap here. Throw a little bit of glue on that. And let's lift up this last section. And just do this in little spurts so that we don't get a gluey mess all over the place. So we're being neat and accurate. There we go. Okay. And like I mentioned, for the most part, it's already kind of figured out where it needs to go for this last section. So that's always good. Press that down. Wonderful. Okay, so now the veins. I don't think we really need to worry too much about getting glue on the entire length of each of the veins. My main concern is just making sure that the tips stay in place. And once those are grounded, I don't think it's really going to go anywhere. So what I'll do here is just lift this up and just dab the tips here, and maybe this little guy here as well. Let him fall where he needs to fall, and then just give that a quick, gentle press, just like that. Now that's in place. Reapply your glue onto your scrap, and just repeat that process here on the tips. And don't put too much glue on there, because it will kind of shoot out on you. Let that fall where it needs to. Very gentle little press. There we go. Okay, a couple more little veins. And, well, the cool thing about this is that when you open it up, you can put a little tea light in there, and because vellum is translucent, it's going to light up. I wanted to get this card out sooner for our Canadian friends, because I know that your Thanksgiving is just around the corner, and of course, this whole bundle took a little bit longer than anticipated, so I do apologize, but at least you have a beautiful card for next year. So there's always that. If you want to be the eternal optimist, you could say, well, we gave you a jump start. We got it out really early, actually. I know that's kind of pushing it, but you know what I'm saying. It's not that we don't want to cater to, more people globally. It's not right now. It's just not sustainable. can't really, we have to make sure that the stuff that we make has a global reach. Okay, there we go. And finally, that last little bit, I'm going to grab one more piece of scrap. There we go. And let's lift that up. Hit that with a little bit of glue. Just press that down. As long as it doesn't smear out too much, that glue, again, will dry transparent. It'll have maybe a little bit of a sheen to it, but not horrible. This little section here, I noticed I didn't get enough glue on that, so I'll just rub it on there, give it a gentle press, and just kind of go around, make sure everything is sitting nice and flush. But there is your beautiful translucent leaf. Wait till you see it lit up. It's going to look fantastic. And then we do have one more layer that's going to go on top here, like so. And these papers are fantastic. They are just, this one I'm afraid to bend this because of how thick it is. So I'm going to have to try. If you're using something less thick, this has got to be at least like 120 pounds, maybe more actually. I don't think I can fold this one back and do these sections separately because I think it will crease. I think we did the card base is made out of the same paper, and even folding that proved to be, well, it left a crease that to me was a little unsightly. So I'm going to start up here, top center, get that lined up. And then these little guys on the side, those I'll just kind of put in place separately because, again, they're kind of, excuse me, they're breathing on their own because there's not much holding them to the main vein. And I may need to go in and reapply some glue on these sections, and that's okay. As long as you can slide it in there. I just didn't want to bend it too much. Let's take a look and see how that turned out. Okay, so this guy is pretty much ready for prime time here. Here's the card base, and you can see here this card base, this paper, super thick, and it's going to be okay. It looks better when it's closed, but when you open it up, you can see it's kind of scrunching in on itself. But I need to lay this down flat because I need to put this layer down. Okay, I've got a lot of detail here, and I don't think there's any way we're going to get glue on every single inch of it, but we're going to try our best. So we need to flip this around. I'm going to put this down flat on my surface, and you could technically, we could break this down into two sections. Maybe that's what we'll do. I'm going to go right up to here, and I don't need to worry about getting glue on every single section of this. It's not going to happen. I can tell you that right now, because it's going to start by the time you think you're done, your glue is starting to dry, and then you got to start over. So work on getting it in as many little areas as you can, especially on these little loops. Okay, and we'll just break this in, we'll break this down into half. Whoops. Let's be very careful here. See these little nubs there? Let's line that up first. Pardon my head if it's in the way. This is going to be completely flush with the card base as well, so you can definitely use that as a guide. Just like that, press that into place. And we are right about there. That's where our glue stops, and that's pretty good actually. So we have this beautiful textured gold on this pearlescent. Okay, so we had the glue up to about here. We're going to flare this back. Okay, and I think it would help to kind of lay it down like this, and then go ahead and begin applying glue. Just do little dots on the rest of it. Do the perimeter first. You can do a nice thicker line of glue there, and then just start hitting this with little dots. Again, I wish that I was a fan of spray adhesive. but I just don't, like I said, I get a headache immediately when I use it. This would be great for that. Okay, and then since it's already anchored on top, it should just fall into place on the bottom. There you have it. Pretty straightforward. And as I mentioned, as long as you have the majority of it in place, it will stay and it'll be nice and flush. So there you have it. Okay, so there's that. And now, before we wrap this up, one other thing too, let me show you what this is going to look like eventually. Look at that. And we're going to foam square this out so it really pops. It's going to be beautiful. Okay. All right. One thing that we need to do now, this little insert is for the inside here. I wanted to add another layer of vellum to diffuse the light a little bit before it hit. And plus, just we didn't want a big gaping hole in the back here. And let me just double check and make sure that this is symmetrical. It is, so it doesn't matter. What we're going to do is we're going to take this piece of vellum and we're going to glue it over like this, making sure that we have the entire cutout of our maple leaf covered with our vellum. So just do dots. You're not going to see this. This is going to get glued to the inside of the card, so you can be as sloppy as you want right now and just get it out of your system. Because technically we're almost done. This card's almost done now. That vellum process takes a little bit of time, but hey man, I think it's worth it. Okay, make sure you have it lined up correctly so that it's covering up the entire leaf. Spread that glue out away from the insert, or from the cutout, I should say, like so, so that you're left with that. And this is going to go in here. So we do want to try to match this up as accurately as we can, like so. I'm going to take and apply our glue to this entire piece, just like we would a regular piece of cardstock. We just need to try to avoid the little cutouts for the vellum. I feel like I'm using gold or something, or like copper for paper. This looks so real and it's so thick. It's kind of wild, actually. All right, so just carefully, you have to kind of put it up against the surface a little bit just to see the outline of the outside to make sure that you're lining it up correctly. And there you have it, just like that. And press that down, and that'll clean it up nicely on the inside as well. Okay. And if you need to, grab yourself a scrap piece of paper, put a little bit of glue on there, and if you happen to miss any of these areas, you can just tuck it in under there, add a little extra glue. Okay, so that's what it looks like from the front. Now I notice that these sections here are not staying put, so I can put a little bit of glue on that and press that up against the vellum if I need to. Oh, by the way, under the free printable section, we have some inserts for print and cut. I think that looks beautiful in there. Okay, and we have a happy Thanksgiving, happy birthday, and then a blank one as well. And then the finishing touch here is, well, you can either number one, you can glue this down flat if you want, but I really wanted to add some dimension to this, okay? And you can see how beautiful that's gonna look, especially when it's lit up. So we're gonna flip this around, and we purposely have these areas here where you can apply some foam squares, okay? What I do typically is for areas like this, you can take your scissors and literally just cut these in half to make them even smaller. Okay, I wouldn't cut these more than once. And then just add, we're just mostly going to put the foam squares on these thicker areas right in here. Just make sure they're not poking through and visible through the vellum. We want it hidden as well as possible. Okay, and that is literally going to hold it in place for us. I'm going to use full, well, you know what, yeah, that's fine. You can use a full one there. I'm gonna use a full one there. Peel that off. Again, if you're not comfortable adding dimension to this section, you can glue this down flat. It's still gonna look really nice, but I wanted to create some separation. And you can see here, there's this little area where the stem is going to go, part of it. You can mostly see the outline of the leaf. So just do your best to line that up. Okay, so the idea was to do that. And it's brilliant. And that's exactly what I was kind of hoping to see. Now, you really can't see how awesome that looks on camera because it's not really capturing the full vibe, but I think that's stunning. Okay, so last thing to do here, again, we've included blank inserts so you can do whatever you want to the inside, but these are going to be under the free printable section on our website, so you can get these downloaded, do your print to cut, and you just want to make sure that when you pop this in, you maintain a nice even border all the way around. And I think this is the cherry on top of a very elegant, unique card that doubles as a little luminary if you send it and you want to send a coordinating, or not, just a little tea light to put in there so that they can illuminate their leaf. That would be awesome. But last thing to do here is put our little envelope together. And I usually pre-fold these. I don't know why I didn't. I went with the solid score lines for my envelope. It just looks a lot nicer. I recommend you do the same. And no matter which machine you have, whether it be an Explorer or a Maker, on the Cricut side of things, your Explorer should have came with a stylus that you can use for scoring. And even though it is a little more blunt, it gets the job done. Okay, so go ahead and fold everything at the score marks. Okay, and we have this little insert here to give this lid, or the top flap, a little two-tone look with a nice little maple tree. So what I want you to do is apply your glue around the leaf, like so, and around this little flourish there. And then on this piece, just work some glue around the perimeter, only the perimeter. Don't put any in here because then it's going to show up through the maple leaf. Get that nice and centered on the inside of the top flap. And press that down. Okay, you're going to bring these two sides in. Bring this flap up and apply your glue here and here. And go ahead and close that up. And I'm not going to put it in, but I'll show you that it will fit, obviously. And then for the flap here, you'll notice that there's a series of little markers. Okay, and that's for these little flourishes there. Those are going to go right there. So just put a little bit of glue. They're going to go on like that. Just add your glue, pop that on there, and that is going to do it. So again, our timeless maple card. Let me see what this looks, well, can't really tell, but there you have it. So that's going to do it for our timeless maple card. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit that subscribe button on YouTube. And if you make this or anything from our latest bundle, I would love to see it. And so would the rest of our community. So head over to your Facebook, do a search for Dreaming Tree Official. That's where you'll find myself and over 46,000 other dreamers that inspire us daily. So hope you had a blast. And as always, I look forward to crafting with you again. Hey, thanks for crafting along with me. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, check out some of our other videos and please consider hitting that subscribe button. Also, don't forget to visit our site and check out our free SVG section where you'll find over 140 free SVG files complete with assembly tutorials. I'll see you in the craft room.